Welcome to Live Stories, a podcast that holds space for inspirational interactions that are real about navigating the challenging journey of separation and divorce. Expect laughter and some tears. It's all welcomed because Lived Stories is meant to be a safe space. Welcome to Live Stories. I'm your host, Lib Lewis, and today I am chatting with my dear friend Tania Torres. Woo! Hey, Tania. I'm so excited to have you on. So, for my community who are listening, when I typically invite guests to the show, the podcast, I ask them to send me kind of a 1 to 2 introduction. It's meant to be short to see what people send. And Tania, I love what you wrote because it's so you and so to your core. And I want to read it for my listeners because I just love you, girl. Tania wrote to me in her introduction. She said, I'm a mother, entrepreneur, and innovator. I always trust my intuition, work hard, and dream big. Despite life's challenges, I've been able to endure, overcome, and excel. My life's goal is to be happy and to be a forever student of life. Like two things.
Yes.
That's goals. And so I love that because it's like, when you're not happy, and you also have the wherewithal to understand that life is about learning, is about not necessarily getting it right the entire time, but taking lessons from that. So, girl, you get ready. Let me get my drinks because
I'm
want to get.
ready. I got the tea. I even got
Yes,
I bought a bottle of wine. I don't know what kind of conversation we're going to be
you
having
guys.
today. We got the
I love.
popcorn. It's Friday. Let's do this.
It's Friday. Let's do this. So let's get into the time that was not so happy. And I know there are many, many, many times that I actually know your story. So tell me about the tough situation. Let's get started there. What was your mindset? What was happening? Let's get into it.
Yeah. So I think there was, in your life, there's a few different moments that stand out. And so for me, this was one of them. I moved to LA when I was 22. I was just a kid. And I met my daughter's father. And
Butterfly.
yes, butterflies. And he was older than me and he was very exciting. And, I loved being a free spirit. It's my personality, it's who I am. And I like to travel and try new things. And, he just had everything that I was looking for. At least that's what he presented to me. And it turned out that he was living a lie pretty much.
Okay, wait. So at 22, you meet a guy who's older than you and sparks, and you think you understand who he is. Now, what were those signs that started to be like that made you aware that is like, something ain't right?
Well, everything's 2020 in hindsight. So I think when somebody's too nice, I think immediately your red flag should go up because you want somebody that's real. Not everything's going to be perfect.
Right.
And I think he was closed off in a lot of areas about himself, about his past. He had, some daddy issues. And even his sister had tried to let me know, hey, my brother has some problems. And he just chalked it off to like, hey, it's just family, bickering, don't pay any attention. But
When the sister asked you, when the sister kind of was like, hey girl, like be aware, were you like, let me listen? Or was it like, oh my God, whatever, family drama? What you think?
I have a lot of drama in my family at times. So I took it with a grain of salt. I didn't really get too much into it, but I did ask him about it. She was like, my brother, he had some like anger issues in high school. He had a lot of problems. And I'm just like, okay, like I didn't at that time, I didn't connect the dots. So he was just over the top. Like he had always had dinner and cooked, and pretty much everything was perfect until I got pregnant. So I had met him, but we were never dating for the first few years. It was just like I know him, from parties, different places. And then it's that one day where you're like, all right, let me give this guy a chance, and it was great. I enjoyed it. Maybe a year and a half after I found out I'm pregnant. And I'm like, listen, I'm 24 years old. I love my life. I'm not sure about this. And I brought those concerns to him. And he was like, no, like, I got this. I'm working. He literally
What?
did a backflip, like a physical backflip. So excited. Can't
Mhm.
wait. Um, but in that time, I got really sick. I had
Mm,
hyperemesis, which is like the excessive vomiting and all that. And that's when I really saw a turn because we hadn't lived together up until that point. And all these stressors started coming into play. I couldn't really work. The finances were on him. We were going to need to move in together. And all of that just, I started seeing a completely different side of him. Granted, I wasn't myself because I'm very
mhm.
feisty. I'm like, don't mess with me. You do something to me, I'm coming at you. I'm letting you know how I feel about it. So he knew that part, but I think that there was a weakness that he saw to me during that time. And he
Weak.
definitely took advantage of it. So it started simple things, just like not being very understanding about me being sick. And then it just turned all the way super jealous, aggressive, angry, physical, pushing. And I was just like,
What?
whoa, yes. I was like, I don't know what's happening here, but this is not for me. So very early on into the
Mhm.
process, I was like, no. But as abusers do, um, they know how to get you back in. They give you these little breadcrumbs that make you feel like, all right, maybe it's just that one
Mm.
time. You've heard it a million times. Everything that you hear, it happens. It can happen to you.
Girl, I got so many questions. So, at the point where he started to kind of change, were you in your head saying, nah, it's this one time? Or were you like, how were you when you kind of started to receive
So
or see the change? You
I,
also
I
are
got
pregnant, your hormones are a mess, right? So, like,
Well, I got a little nervous. Like immediately,
mhm,
I'm across country. I'm living in California. I'm
right.
away. I'm a New Yorker. So my mom was living in Florida. I did
Mhm.
get nervous. And then I was like, you know what? I need to be near my family. Maybe this is just not going to work. It was very quick where I was just like, I'm not sure about this. So I said, listen, I need to be near my family. I'm going to go stay with my mom in Florida. Let's just see how it goes.
That was
And
smart.
yes, but he literally jumped on my same plane. He got his family heirloom ring and proposed on the plane on the way, saying, I promise everything's going to be okay. I'm going to work this out. No. So when I told you he acted like he was somebody that he wasn't, he told me
Mm.
he was in real estate. He wasn't. His mom owned properties and he was just property managing them. The car that he had, he said it was a work vehicle. It he didn't even have a car. Like it was just lie after lie.
Wow.
And I think that he had a good intention. His mom had told me that I was the first person he had ever brought home. He was already 30 years old.
Oh, so you're hearing some signs, and so for my listeners, pay attention to signs, honey. And if you're hearing some of this, get
Yes. Like I was flattered. Like I was so naive in the moment. I was like, oh my God, he brought me home. Like, oh, I must be so special. But I should have been more like, well, why isn't that? Like I didn't probe enough. And I had never been to his job. And why would I? Like, I'm not gonna follow him around and cheat. That's just not my personality. I don't want to be in that type of relationship. So for me,
not.
I mean, I'm married now. I've never been to my husband's job. I don't want to
Mhm.
that's just not me. So people say, well, how didn't you know? Well, these people who are bipolar sociopaths, they can act one way to you, do certain things to you, harm you, and then 5 minutes later act like nothing's wrong. So it's very, very tricky. They're super charismatic. They are, I mean, I've done tons of research on it after the fact, just
Mhm.
trying to understand how I got to this point because
Mhm.
it led me down a path where I couldn't even trust my own judgment on people. Like that's how deep rooted it went in. Because I'm like, if I didn't
Wow.
notice this, like maybe I don't know anything. Maybe I just can't judge people in general.
That is trippy.
Weird. So he comes with me to
Good.
California. I
Yep.
mean, from California
Then
to
gets on the plane,
Florida.
proposes, big grand gesture.
We try to make it work, and 7 weeks in, we're staying at my mom's home. 7 weeks in, um, I got an email or yeah, an email or text message asking me about doing events. I used to do events, promotions in California. He saw it, he freaked out, and he literally choked me, like choked me out.
Um,
I I was in shock. Like I was like, what is happening right now? So I was pregnant and I was like, you know what? I'm not doing this. Like I told my mom actually right away. I was just like, this is what happened. She was furious and he
mhm.
literally left the next day. And I didn't see him until the day my baby was born.
Well, first,
So
kudos to you for leaving. Because I think, and I don't want to get too deep, but I do think that like there are women who are experiencing this exact thing. And I mean, I guess it's better coming from you, but the first thing is get safe, right?
so yeah, I mean, what happens is, and this is just the beginning of the story. This is not the abuse part yet.
Girl,
So
okay.
this, yes, this is not, this is just, these were my indicators.
Ah,
I did what a lot of women out there do.
mm,
So during the process, I was like maybe 5 months pregnant, 4 or 5 months pregnant when he
yeah,
had
yeah,
went back to California. And although I was mad, I knew it wasn't right. My hormones were raging. And I think at some point I was like, maybe we can try to repair this. Like maybe
yeah,
this is just
yeah.
something, I still wanted it to work. I'm having a baby. Like I really wanted that.
Mhm,
And so he knew when the due date was,
mhm,
and
mhm.
he didn't say exactly when, but he came pretty close to the date.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when he arrived at the airport, he called me and he said, "Hey, I'm here." So
Here we are.
it it didn't leave much for negotiation. Like,
Right,
he already implanted himself in the situation. So, I was like, all right, let me just pick him up. Like, what he's not from here. I'm
right.
gonna have this baby. And literally that night, after we had a conversation, my water broke that night. So I was already stressed out. I wound
Right.
up having an emergency C-section.
Mm.
And then the next day, there wasn't enough time to kind of dissect everything because my baby's here.
Yeah.
Oh well, like too bad. We didn't have time. Now's not the time to have that kind of conversation.
Mhm.
So this is when I really saw the other side.
So you hadn't
Uh,
seen the other side, even though in my mind I'm already like, what in the
mm-mm.
what?
No,
Okay.
no, no. So he lasted about another 7 weeks.
And you're
Um,
living at your mom's house now.
I'm living at my mom's house. She had two
Mhm.
homes. So
Okay.
I was in one, she was in another.
Okay.
Living in my mom's house, and I see the signs again. He's starting to get feisty, pushy, angry, and I have a baby right now. And
Right.
then it just escalated to a point where he was like trying to put her hot baby water on me. He had a lighter. He told me he was going to set me on fire. He would pull my hair. Anything that wasn't his way or how it was, he started getting crazy. And it came to the point where he was so bold and brazen. My stepdad at the time was a retired NYPD. He lived in the
Mhm.
house that I was staying in. And my mom would come over and visit. And he would do things even in the room, even while they were home, did not care.
Oh
And
goodness.
then we had like an incident. It was him and I. It was the scariest moment I've ever experienced.
Oh my goodness.
He he literally dragged me around the house. The baby's 7 weeks old. He dragged me around while I'm carrying her, hitting us, spitting on us, everything. And at this point, I don't know what I should do. Should I put my baby down? Should I keep holding her? Yeah, it was really horrible. And so
Wow.
I I knew my mom had a gun, and I thought about it. I had really bad postpartum too, so I wasn't even in my right mind.
Yeah, yeah.
I knew she had a gun, and I thought about it, and I was like, I'm going to shoot him. Now, ironically, the universe has a way. That morning, I guess my mom always had her eye open from the first time. And
Mothers
when
be knowing.
Yeah, when she came to visit in the morning, she said, "You never let anybody push you around, all right? Like if don't let him do any." I'm like, "I got it, I got it." But
Mm-hmm.
she knew. So
Mm.
I said, "Okay, I'm going to get the gun." So I
In
ran
your
to,
mind, while this is happening, you're like, how am I
yeah,
protecting
I'm
myself?
already like, because at this point I'm like, I mean,
Oh,
if you're
he's
willing to
nuts.
hit me with an infant, like we have serious problems here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just got that mama bear, like that instinct that you
Mm.
don't even know that you have. You know it, you just
Mm.
have it, and you're just
My
willing to
God.
do whatever it is. And I was
Yeah.
like, I'll just suffer the consequences. Like I don't even know. But at this
What they
point,
are. Yeah.
I don't even know what the jail time. I don't know what it is, but I just can't be in this situation. So I ran up, I went to her closet, and I tore it apart. And he's screaming and yelling. It wasn't there. She had moved it that morning. And
My
so
goodness.
I was like, okay, I have to
Absolutely.
leave. I have to leave this house. So I
Hmm.
try to grab the baby, like we have one shoe on. I go into the garage, I run in the car, he jumps in. And again, the universe, I accidentally butt dialed my mom. So she hears that there's a commotion. She
Yeah.
doesn't know what it is. She knows it's bad. And I
Hmm.
and I later find out she calls my dad in New Jersey. It's like, hey, you got to come here. Like we have a serious problem. She didn't know
Hmm.
exactly how to address it, but she's like, we need backup. Like there needs to be
Yo,
help here.
oh, we need
There needs
backup.
to
I
be
love that. That's so you too.
we need some help. So he books a flight. And literally the day before he got there, it was like the last straw for me. We were in the room, my mom and was visiting, and I went to leave the room. He pulled my hair and I screamed like it hurt. And it was unexpected. Normally I would like try to be quiet, whatever.
Mm.
And when
Why
I
would you try
did,
to be quiet?
I don't know. I think I was ashamed. Like I was just so embarrassed that I was even in this situation. Like I'm having a baby with this crazy person. I've never been in this situation. I don't have daddy issues. I'm not your typical, like
Yeah.
usually there's a set of like a parameters that you think like, oh, she's probably with him because XYZ or has low self-esteem. I was more like worried about disappointing my parents because I had never done something like this. And then now I'm having a baby and it's with somebody that's not going to work out. And I just felt like they were going to be so disappointed.
Mhm.
So I scream. My mom comes running down. So I think she's going to say, like, what happened? She ran right past me. She ran right past me and yelled and screamed at him. And I'm like, she knows. It was the first time I realized she knew because of that call. So she had been coming over every day. And my stepdad, and I'm like, why are these people all in my space, in my business? It's because they were trying to keep an eye out.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so we wind up calling the police. He leaves before they get there. And then we realize like how crazy he is. The police arrive, I'm given a report. He calls my cell phone while they're in the house. And he's like, hey, can you bring me out my jacket and my cigarettes? I'm like, what cigarettes? Apparently he was like a different person. Like he
Oh,
smoked, just freaky. And I was like, that these police are here for you. Didn't even care. Like nothing. Like wild. So they pick him up, they take him to jail. It was right Christmas time.
mm.
And right before, like, we get off the phone, he's like, just know I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna burn this fucking house down with you in it.
Oh
And
my,
I was just like,
that's
this is not good.
wild.
Wild. So the holidays go by, and we have a court date that's set for like a month out.
Mhm.
And he gets out, and maybe like maybe 4 days because it was a holiday week. Like he had to stay in, gets out, but he has nowhere to go. And he
Girl,
wasn't
don't tell
coming. He wasn't. This is when the story gets crazy. We
me.
didn't even get there yet. I had a grandmother. My grandmother lived about 10 minutes away from my house. And we had had a falling out when I was 5 months pregnant, shortly after he left.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
actually had a restraining order with her. She had some mental issues and she literally attacked me during my pregnancy, rolling on the floor, scratches all over my face. It was it was a bad time. It was a horrible time.
My goodness.
Um, And he knew this, and he knew where she lived. So when he got out, he had nowhere to go. Later, find out he spent 3 nights in her garbage receptacle of her high rise because it was raining, had nowhere to go. Eventually, he goes to her front door. She lets him in, and they make a plan together. They
Oh.
make a plan that she would apologize to me and say she wanted to see the baby.
Mm.
And when she called, I was like, all right, like it's my grandma. Like I'm just, all in my feels. I'm all over the place. Like this is
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was just it's so
Mhm,
out of character, this whole situation.
mhm, mhm.
So I'm like, all right, I'll go. And when I went there, he was there. And they wound up keeping me there for like a month. I slept on floor cushions with my baby, 1 month old,
Tanya.
like crazy,
Like
crazy.
a kidnapping?
It was just psychological. Like at that point, I knew how dangerous he was. I knew how dangerous she was.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just
You just
like,
didn't want to keep the peace. So
yeah,
you're
like
not.
I'm like, I don't know if you're gonna kill me or like I don't know where we're at in this situation. So in my head, I was like, I gotta survive for 1 month and just make it to the court date because I
You
just
have
then
to
I could
show up
just
for the
be
court
free. Like I
date.
knew she wasn't gonna keep him there forever in her house, but
Mm-hmm.
she kept trying to persuade me to work it out with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, you are like, this is ludicrous. So I pretended, I like just made like as much peace. Like I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna pretend. But in my head, I was like, I have got to get out of this situation. So
Wow.
the court date, yeah. And the night before the court date, he just did like the same thing, it's just like it was like a cycle. Just he would act fine and then just be
Mm-hmm.
crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And when we went, they asked me, what would you like to happen here? What's the deal? And I just said, like, I don't want him to go to a treatment center or like to classes because then he would have to stay in Florida and he wasn't a resident. If I
Mm-hmm.
say do nothing, right, I just want him to go back home. He'd be, there was nowhere for him to go, nowhere for him to go. So he winds up leaving the next day. We leave it alone. We never continue the chapter in court, but
Mm-hmm.
I knew that there was a loophole. You can't move from the state that your child is born unless both parents consent, unless one parent already leaves. So when he left, I didn't have to stay. Like I wasn't bound by staying there.
Ah.
So within a few weeks, I got my things and I left. So that was the last physical time I saw him,
Mm.
but he's been stalking me for 13 years till this day. He doesn't know where I live, but there's all these, loopholes. I recently tried to get full custody of my daughter this year. All this time I waited because I didn't want to go to court. Because if not, he's the type he never wanted to see her, never asked. Like even when he was gone in the beginning, I was like, maybe we can make arrangements. It wasn't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. So being unhappy, the unhappiness started after that. When you're in something, I think it was more stress and fear and
Mm-hmm.
pressure and just the sadness we talked about when you were sad or unhappy. It was really after because I had to mourn the person that I was. I was happy. I was free. I was just
Mm-hmm.
willing to try things. I became recluse, afraid. I didn't trust anybody. I was just so disappointed. So
Disappointed in
that's,
what? Disappointed that it happened, disappointed in yourself because is it
yeah, it's just like I
yeah.
felt like my life was just not going to be everything that I had
Mm-hmm.
hoped for
Mm-hmm.
because now I have another person and that person comes before you. And my mom wasn't like, I wasn't going to stay in Florida, so I wasn't going to have her help.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was more like, you had a baby, it's your job, your
Mm-hmm.
responsibility. So I didn't have a relationship with my grandma. I
Mm-hmm.
wound up moving to New Jersey
Mm-hmm.
and
Jersey, what up?
my dad lived here, and my grandma on his side lived here, but she was old. My other cousin had a baby. It was more like really sad because it changed you. I don't wish what happened to me. I don't wish being a single mom in that way. There's different type of single moms.
Yeah.
There's child support. I'm a single mom.
Mhm.
There's every other weekends I get free single mom. Like I was isolated,
Mhm.
nobody around, just
Mhm.
me and the baby all the time. And that is hard as it is. Your mom in
Mhm.
any situation, you know how hard that is.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
feeling like I was just ripped away from everybody that I knew, my family, my everything, and just a different person. It was just, I feel like I had to mourn. And
Yeah.
that took many years. That took like 8 years.
Whew.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's unhappy.
So unhappy one, you talked about when you first realized he was nuts and not sharing in the shame. I want to go back there just for a second because I think a lot of people, even me, when I realized my marriage was not what I thought it was going to be, and I was starting to struggle, I didn't say anything to anybody because I felt so ashamed. I don't even know if I can quantify or I can use, like, I was ashamed that I realized I made a poor decision. I was disappointed in myself because, like, come on, Liv, you know better. You didn't check for the signs. And I was
Right.
also ashamed of what people would say if I said to them, oh, this marriage is for the birds. Like, you know what I mean? And so, like, when you said you were ashamed of what your parents would think, was there some shame in just your decision too?
100%. I mean, I didn't say much about it. I didn't say anything to anyone. My friend, nobody knew anything
Mhm.
about any of it. I never even said it, or my parents didn't even know what had happened. They knew things were going on, and that day, I never told them until recently the
Are you
details.
serious?
I couldn't even get it out to
Now,
tell
what
them.
was that? Is that the not talking about it is what was driving that? Privacy, or is it back to the
No,
shame, or
no,
just didn't want to
I
be?
made once I made a personal peace with it, I can talk to other people, but
Okay.
my
Okay.
family, like, I just knew how hurt it would also make them. And just like, my mom is just so strong. Both my parents, like, you don't deal with that, and I know
Yeah.
these things.
Mm,
And it's not like some people stay in something for years. That was not going to be me. I knew it was
right.
going to be over,
Right.
but I already had the baby. So I was like, okay, let me just
Mm,
get through this little hump so I can be myself again and really tackle this issue. That's just my personality.
mhm.
But I was still just so upset that it even got there. I never wanted to be a single mom. Nobody does. But
Yeah.
knowing that I was going to be it while before the kid even got here was really hard. I was
Yeah.
so upset about it.
Yeah.
And it's not these ideals of having the perfect family.
Mhm.
I grew up, my parents were divorced. They're great friends. I know that
Yeah.
that can work
Yeah.
out. I turned out totally fine. I'm okay with that. It
Mhm.
was more so, I'm not going to be able to co-parent with this person. I'm not even going to be able to have
Mhm.
a proper relationship.
Mhm.
And what he did so many other things. He had called
Yeah.
my dad, told him things about me, personal, private, like it just went on and on. And I was just like, I
Mhm.
can never trust this person to
Mhm.
have a co-parenting relationship. So I think
Mhm.
that was a big part too that I was really sad about.
Mhm.
Um, but I did learn. So
Ah,
every time you go through, I met my first husband 2 years later.
so
I
let's talk about the grieving. You said you grieved for a
I
long
agree.
time.
Well, I was grieving even after I was married because there were
Yeah.
still parts of me that
Mm-hmm.
I felt like even my new husband, like my husband,
Mm-hmm.
he would never know about me. He would never know who I was before that happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Because that's not
because
you.
it
Yeah.
wasn't me. I felt like inside it was a big part of me. It was a lot of the reason why he liked me, all the lovable, fun parts that he had glimpses of and really brought out. He wouldn't see everything that I was or could have been. He just kind of got like the struggling, overcoming, he thought it was
Mhm.
admirable. He
The
thought
resilience.
like, oh, you're independent, you're strong, you're taking care of your kid. And I appreciated that. But
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't like the vibrant version of myself
Mm.
that I just felt like he would never see that and he would never know it because it wasn't, it just had passed.
Wow.
But I did promise, and I told him very upfront, I'm not going to keep things from my family. I'm not going to keep things from my friends. You do something, we have something, I'm saying it because I need that reality check. I need to have that transparency.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care. I'm definitely not going to keep secrets.
Mm-hmm.
So I told him that. And
But did you understand why it's from stemming from your
yeah,
past?
I told him the whole story. I mean, I told him everything. So he knew.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important, right? In order for somebody to be empathetic, sympathetic,
Mm-hmm.
just be able to navigate you, they have to understand you. And I felt like he
Yeah.
really understood,
Yeah.
and he got that side of me, and he was fine with it. So, but later on, I'm divorced, so that was
So
a little bit hard,
let me give you the timeline. So that drama was with her baby's dad, her
right?
daughter's dad. Then she got married. Then she got
Yes,
divorced.
yes,
And Miss Tanya is recently married.
I am.
Right. So she's currently married. So, and the reason I wanted to have you on is to talk about how did you know you wanted to try again?
Mm.
How did you open up your heart to another person? Because straight up, like after that, it's like, well, I guess I'm single. Like I'll have some booze, but
You know,
what?
it was 100%. So I had to analyze it too. Like
Mhm.
I fell in love with my first husband like nothing I've ever experienced before.
Really?
And I trusted him, but he exuded masculinity. I told you this before. Exuded masculinity, strength. He was a protector. So
Mhm.
he had all those things that really made me feel safe.
Safe.
He was a passionate person. He, worked hard for the family. And I felt like, okay, I will be safe. There
Mhm.
were other things that kind of got blurry because I
Ooh,
really
damn it.
needed because
Urgh.
I really needed those things to move
Mhm.
on,
Mhm.
and to really, feel free. There were other things, but they really didn't come into play because I was with him for almost 10 years. So it's not like that wasn't an overnight thing.
Mhm.
It
No.
wasn't
Mhm.
a casual, relationship. We didn't, it was an amazing relationship. It was fun. It was all the things that I like, except he wound up becoming a drinker, and he always had that little,
Mm.
that party boy, and I'm just one more drink, and
Mhm.
you push it to the
Mhm.
side. But as we were getting older, a decade is a long time. You're hoping that people evolve and change and grow. Like we're not in our 20s, we're in our 30s, and he couldn't let go of some of those behaviors. So although he had like the pillars of like a great person,
Mhm.
his personal habits, addictions, all those things, it kind of overshadowed some of the things that I needed to continue to grow at a pace in which I would be proud of myself
Mhm.
and live out the dreams that I had.
Mhm.
And so we chose to part ways. We always had the conversation, hey, if we ever got divorced,
Wow. Before in the relationship.
always always, because I wanted to be upfront about everything. I had learned like you really need to have conversation. You need to get in there. You need to talk about
Mhm.
the uncomfortable. I need to
Mhm.
know every single detail about
That's
you.
Tanya, y'all. She gonna ask the
I
questions. That's
ask. I
her.
don't care. I'm like, I have some clients. They're like sick. They had cancer. I'm like, so what happened? Like, did your hair fall out? Like, how did it happen? What medication did they have you take? I don't
Mhm.
care because I feel like
Mhm.
anything can be asked if it's coming from the right intention. And
Yeah.
I don't have negativity in my heart, in my soul. That's not where I lead. I lead with love. And so it's like you can't be there for someone, or you can't be a friend to someone if you really don't know what's going on. So
Yeah.
I asked questions. So I asked a lot with him, and we agreed it would be amicable and we would just separate and be cool. And we got to that point. I'm like, we're not getting along. We've been fighting. I don't agree. We tried. And I asked him one last question. It was
Mm.
about counseling, if he was willing to go to therapy. He said no. And then I said no because I'm willing to do every single thing to be better, to learn better, I learned everything about abusers. I dug deep. I read books,
Mm.
everything after my relationship because I want to know how to handle it. I want to make sure my head is right.
Mm.
And I feel like let's do therapy. Why not? Let's
Mhm.
understand what makes you feel like you need to lean on all these different crutches. He wasn't willing to do it, so I had to bow out. And that was it. Amicable divorce.
Mhm.
It literally took like 3 months. We did the paperwork,
Mm.
got done.
Mhm.
Finances were easy. We didn't fret. He's like, it was very easy. And we're still friends to this day. I don't want to have that luggage. I don't
Mhm.
want to worry about where he is. What is he doing? Is he
Mhm.
drinking? Is he
Yeah.
driving?
Yeah.
Um, you know,
Mhm.
and I just don't think he was, because of those things, it prevented him from being the type of step parent that I really needed.
Mhm.
He wasn't
Mhm.
mean. He wasn't like deliberately not connecting. I just don't think he was capable because he was constantly numbing himself.
Let's stay here for a minute because I think, God, you just said so much that I want to just make sure listeners are paying attention to. Because I think there comes a time, not I think, when you're at the fork in the road, when it ain't like it's bad, it's not your other, where you had someone who, like, like he may kill me out of bounds,
Right.
and you
Yeah.
fell in love with the safe person, there are troubles, but you're at this fork in the road. And that's when you start, like, you're like you're thinking about, like, is it me? Am I crazy? Or for real, is this a non-negotiable thing that I'm willing
Yeah.
to?
I tried everything and I stayed in it.
Yeah,
This one, I stayed
yeah,
in longer because I
yeah,
really, that love was just
yeah.
so intense. I'm like, come on, we got to figure it out. Like, we can do this. We could do,
Mm.
and we tried. And it was just so hard because when you're not consistent, then
See.
I can't trust leaving you my daughter because I don't know what you're going to do. It wasn't toward us. His self implosion affected us.
Mm-hmm.
His disease, his addictions affected us. And I love my daughter more than anything. And
Yeah.
it was to walk away from somebody that you love
Mm-hmm.
and just be like, I'm gonna love you from over here because I love my kid more and I'd never want her to be in a position. I don't want her to resent me. She needs to have a stable environment. She needs to be able to think free. And I deserve, like, I really feel like I had put in the
Yeah.
time, the work to
Mm-hmm.
grow, to work, to get a job, to move up in that
Yeah.
position. And
Yeah.
I was like, I really deserve this. It was finally time to just say, I'm going to put me first. And that was it. It was just this choice that had to be made. That's the hardest. I hear people go through this. Friends,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the women to women business. I see women every day. I have these conversations. And it's so hard to step away because they're like, well, what will I do about work,
Mm-hmm.
money? I'm like, you're struggling right now. You're struggling emotionally, mentally. You're struggling already. It's just a different
Mm-hmm.
type of struggle, except you'll have sanity. When you have sanity, when
And
you can think
peace.
clearly, you can push. Anything is possible. And that's what I kept telling myself. It's like all these
I'm
little pep talks.
I'm getting emotional right now because one of the things I heard you say was, I loved him, but love wasn't enough.
Mm.
Y'all, love ain't enough.
I don't care
There
what they
has
tell
to
you.
be, I don't know who they are, but I'm divorced. Like, you love a person, but Tanya also said, God, like, she loved herself more. She loved her daughter more. And that informed whether or not the choice she was going to make. Sometimes you gotta do the hard thing. Everything is gonna be hard, but you gotta love yourself more. But that also shows to me, Tanya, that you did the work, the internal work to know your worth, because you said, I deserve, because I did the work and I deserve more. I'm gonna be trying. I didn't know I deserved more. I knew the marriage was in the rocks 6 years in. I stayed for another 7, trying everything. Eat
Mm-hmm.
counseling. We went to counseling, but the tools were not utilized. There was no progress, and I still struggled with leaving because I thought, well, it's not bad.
I know.
And that is the cycle that I feel. And I talk to a lot of women, and that's one of the reasons why I birthed this platform, this safe space to really employ women partners. You are enough to get to greater than what you're experiencing.
100%. It's about accountability too, right?
Yeah,
Everybody wants to point the finger at the other person.
true. That's true.
Okay. So in the first situation, I was just in a state of shock and I felt like that's something that I can't fix.
Hmm.
In the second situation, I tried because I'm like, okay, I want to navigate. I want to be good at this. I don't just want to run away from something. I don't want to let my past dictate my future. But when I realized the addictions and the drinking, that's that's a you problem. That's
Mm.
not a me problem. And I can't make your problem my problem because I got to
You got a
raise a
thing.
person. I
Yeah,
have
you got a
things.
whole.
And so I can support you. I can be there for you. I can help you. I can drive you to AA. I can
Mm,
do all those things. But if you don't want to do those things, there's nothing that I can do for you. And that's when I was like, I just have to love you from a distance. I can call you, I can check in on you. I don't have to abandon you because you're my friend, you're my, we're
mhm.
we're connected. But I don't want to have to take it on every single
Yes,
day because
yes,
it's
a
not fair
project.
to me. My life matters. There's only one life. Your years go by quickly, and it's just not fair because you're being very selfish by not addressing these issues. And I don't want to be with somebody that's selfish because that's not a relationship.
Yeah,
Relationship is two people giving, taking back and forth. It can't just be, let me just pour everything into you.
yeah.
And I literally built my whole entire business around this situation. I have a
Wow.
whole company dedicated and called, the original name was Wonder Wax Glam Studio. It's about being a warrior. It's about, taking matters into your own hands and running with that. And
Mhm.
I learned that from just everything that I went through. It wound up being the thing that fed me.
Wow. Well, first of all, I just empathize with just what you had to go through both times because that just takes a lot of
It took a
courage and
lot.
bravery. So I want to just pause and just say empathize and also to just your strength and your resilience. And I hate resilience too because it's like, oh, that means I'm always, but it's like, it's so evident and so clear that like, yeah, you're about you. And I just want to just give
Well, that's why I
you,
call them obstacles, right? Because people say,
yeah,
I'm a victim. Well, it's something I went through. It doesn't define who I am.
I
Like
love that.
it
I
has
love
been
that.
a part of it and I've learned from it. It's just another obstacle. It's
Mhm.
something to push through. But I just did never lost my whole self. Like the moment I felt
Mhm.
like I was going down, down, I'm like, I need to figure out what it is that's going to make me feel like me.
Mhm.
And when I started working for Wax Center
Mhm.
years and years, like almost 13, maybe 12 years ago,
Mhm.
I really like, okay, I can do this. Like I have something that's mine. I can meet women. I can talk and can have these conversations. It can be therapeutic. Like I can use what I went through to relate to other people because everybody's going through something. Maybe not the
That's fact.
same thing,
Yes.
right? But something. And
Yes.
it made me just more tolerant
Mhm.
for just that compassion for women because we're so harsh on each other. She's fat, she's ugly, she's snotty, she's a bitch, she works too much, she doesn't work enough, she's too
Mm.
much with her kids, all of those things.
So
And it's
true.
like, hold on, let's peel back the layers. Because
Mhm.
I would never lead with, hey, I was, in an abusive relationship and I almost killed this. Like, I would never say that unless we're having this type of
And
conversation.
earn the
But when people,
trust. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
when people find out, like, oh my God, are you
Yeah.
serious? That happened?
Straight
And
up.
I'm And I'm like, yes, but I don't want that to be my, like it's not who I lead with. I am Tanya. I am a lover. I'm a mother. I'm motivated. Those are the things.
Student of life.
Yeah, a student, I'll be learning forever. And every time, look, I'm married now. I hope it lasts forever. I pray that it does. But I realize things changed in the last 5 years. Things have changed 10 years. I've learned, and I'm going to keep growing. So as long as the relationship keeps up with the growth,
Um,
my personal growth,
yeah,
then it'll be great. But if it doesn't, I'm going to learn from that too. And,
yeah,
I'm just going to keep learning because that's the only way I can be a better mother, a better friend, and just sleep with myself at night. I don't want to get stuck in that way of everything. You have to be able to listen and have these conversations that we're having here today. I
yeah.
just feel like it's giving me peace.
I love you.
Hmm.
Let's talk about your daughter. Connor, what's up, girl?
Yeah,
What what have you shared about your experience and when you realized you were separating from your first husband? What was that conversation like?
So when it comes to her biological father, she doesn't know the story that I just told you. She's
Mm.
13. I've never had that conversation with her. We'll have it at some point in time, but I
Mhm.
don't think it was necessary. I think she knows enough. She's seen that he's called up to 17 times a day in a row, in a row, in a row. He never says anything, doesn't answer. She's answered nothing. So she knows there's something wrong with him. She knows that I just say he's not well.
Mhm.
I'll never forget. I told her that she had a dad when she was 4. She's
Mm.
like, I do? Where is he? I'm like, well, he lives in California. And she's like, well, why isn't he here? I'm like, well, he wasn't ready to be a dad, and she was like, well, what? Like, he didn't want to give me a bottle or change
So
my
cute.
diaper.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Mhm.
cute. And
Mhm.
I was like, exactly. And she goes, well, I don't have a diaper and I don't need a bottle. So
Wow. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
she knew right then at that moment that this story don't sound right, but I just kind of left
Mm-hmm.
it like, well, if you ever want to reach out, you let me know. She did. We tried to coordinate a few times. It just didn't happen. So I leave it alone, and she knows who's here every day.
Yeah.
I've never done the child support. I'm not seeking anything except for my sanity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really it. So that's one story. With my first husband, it was a little bit difficult because she started to see the deterioration. I couldn't hide the signs
Mm-hmm.
of the drinking
Mm-hmm.
and the behavior change, and he was staying out later and later, and she
Mm-hmm.
saw me, being upset and sad. It was hard. I couldn't hide that because I was just overwhelmed by it. And it got to a point where she was resenting me. She was starting to be like, why are
Oh,
we even in
yeah.
this situation?
Yeah,
And
these little kids, let me tell you.
I was like, oh, no, no. And that was just like, okay, we can't do this. Like, she was just getting upset. She's like, why? You guys are so miserable. And I'm like, we don't
Mhm.
need to do this.
Mhm.
So I had promised her the year before, I said, we are going to separate. I
Mhm.
said, but you and I are going to have to work together. It's going to be real hard for a little while because I have to work. And I started my business April of 2020. So lockdown for COVID, March. I
Mhm.
did my LLC in April, a month later, and I already had it in my mind. A year from now, we're gonna be out of here. So I had
Mhm.
told her the plan and everything, and it sucked because she was only 9 years old. I had to leave her at home by herself. I got her a cell phone. I got
Mhm.
a little camera, and I was like, I have to work. If we're gonna get out and move on our own, I have to save up money. I have to do these things. So it was just that was heartbreaking. I was just like, I feel like such a shit mom, but at the same time, if I don't do this, we're gonna be stuck in the same position forever. So I did
Wow.
it. uh, on the weekends we would look at apartments and I would like make her a part of the process, and she's
Yes.
just always been in tune, and I've
Yeah.
never babied
Mm-hmm.
life. I'm very real with her, so she knew.
Mhm.
And then a year later, literally we moved out.
Mhm.
So that was the end of it.
There's a Cheryl Strait quote that says sometimes you have to break your own heart and do the brave thing. Um, for the listeners who are in their mind saying we got to make it work for the kids, I'm just gonna let y'all know the kids know. The kids
That's a
know
lie you tell yourself so that you can feel better. That's what I say. I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend
straight up.
anybody, but
And I
that's what
don't
you
mean,
for you.
yeah, we don't, again, this is a safe space and we don't want to offend, but we do want to be real and honest about what that narrative is, because I didn't even realize my kids, like my ex-husband and I never fought. We never argued. It was a business, but it lacked intimacy. It lacked,
They have eyes.
and so they would go to other houses where they saw how a husband and wife should be, and they didn't have the language to like articulate it. Now they're talking about some of the things they paid attention to, and so it wasn't a contentious household, but it wasn't the example I wanted for them in what a
Of
real relationship would be. And so when it was time to share that with them, I brought them along the journey. And some people are like, you told them, because I didn't want it to feel like it was happening to them. I wanted them
right.
to be a part of it so they felt a little bit of control. Now,
Yeah, like a little
everybody,
bit of relief
yeah,
almost,
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
100%.
No, no, no. And so for the individuals who are thinking I'm in it for the kids, think about what they're seeing. And is that the model you want them to have in their minds when they enter into a relationship?
They can
And
feel you. You are their parent.
yeah,
They can. I
yeah,
could not. I was so sad,
yeah.
like knowing that my marriage was gonna end. I couldn't be the best mom. Like that fake smile, the
Oh,
fake.
girl.
They know it. They're not. They're not dumb. They know it. So I was like, I just rather you be happy. And she has just blossomed since we made this decision. Leaps, bounds,
Mhm,
academically,
mhm,
just with friends, just so
mhm.
adaptable. And she's resilient because she can endure, she can identify, she knows, she can even joke about it. She'd be like, we know those habits. She
Oh, I love that
knows.
about, first of all, I'm obsessed. I love that about her too, because you're modeling the kind of young woman and woman she's going to be without even having to say, you know? And I'm so proud of you for that. I also,
Yeah,
you said the kids just want you to be happy.
totally.
Once you realize that, and once you explain that this is going to get us to happy, you're North Star, they're gonna buy in. And kids are resilient. Kids are gonna bounce back.
If it was a mother and father, like your kids,
Yeah.
like my husband and I, this wasn't our biological daughter, but even if it was, and like in your case, it does hurt. They'll go through a period. It's sad, but there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
When they see the new version of you,
Absolutely.
when you pour everything that you have into them, when you
Mm.
hopefully are both on the same page and you can,
Yeah.
and even if you're not, you just do the best you can when it
Yeah.
comes to that.
Mhm.
It works. It works. I come from a divorce household.
Mhm.
It was sad in the beginning, but I'm fine. Like I love
Mhm.
that they made the effort to get along, make me feel loved, and kids just want to know that they're secure. They want to know that you have two people that are there for them that would do anything for them,
Yeah.
and that's all you
Yeah.
can ask for. That's it.
Yeah. So, girl, I want to ask you a question about when all these things are going on. How much are you telling your friends? Like you said in your first marriage, like you're transparent. Did you
So I
tell
told them
your
a lot. I
now?
told them about his drug problem, the drinking.
Mhm.
I told them everything, and he was very likable too, and I think we
Mhm.
all kind of went in the journey because it's all in how
Mhm.
you explain something.
Mm.
I always looked at it as I want to help him. This is
Mhm.
something he's going through, and I want to help it. I want to make us better. I don't like what he did. I know
Mhm.
why he wanted to do X, Y, and Z. I was trying to understand the whys, and
Mhm.
that I shared with them. It was not like this, I wasn't doing that. Even though
Mm.
some of the things he did hurt me, I
Mhm.
always was trying to explain it in a way of understanding so that I could get the proper feedback because people will mirror your energy. If you're here talking too much, then you're the idiot. Like, well, if that's how you feel, then why are you still with him then?
Mhm. Well, talk
So
to our listeners, because I think a lot of what
Because I
you're
have
saying.
friends in that position. Now I'm smart enough to say, hey, I have a friend, I'll leave her a name. Her husband, well, he's not even her husband, but they have children
Mm-hmm.
together, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I choose to handle these situations instead of attacking him because you'll always be the one out, right? I'm sorry, that's just how it is. Your friends will get rid of you quickly the moment you start talking about their partner, even if they're the worst. So I just flip the script.
I want
I,
y'all to hear that. P.S. Say it again
yes,
for people in the back, Tanya.
you will get rid of your friends very quickly if they start talking about your partner. That's just what you'll do. And you will have such a short fuse for your friends when they do
Mm-hmm.
something, but you'll let a man go
Mm-hmm.
left and still take him back 40 times. Again, you need to work out why that is inside, but that's something separate.
That's therapy.
Right, right. What I have chosen to do with my friends is I ask them the question. Are you happy? Does this make you feel good? Is this what you envision? Do you think this is something that you can endure long term? How do you think your children are being affected by this? I don't have to point it out. Let them say it. Because when
Mm-hmm.
you say something out loud out of your own mouth, you said it, not me. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all in how you navigate. And again, it's coming from the right place. I love you. I don't want to see you in that position. I don't want you to be going through this. If that's what you, I don't have to date your man. He's
Mm-hmm.
very nice to me every time I'm around. He's funny and everything. I'm good. I'm good. I'm not sleeping with him. You are. So let's ask you the tough questions because you're the only person that has to deal with it. And you are the only person that knows what's going on in your house behind closed doors when nobody else is around.
Now, do you find when you start asking these very internal questions that they have answers? Or is it like,
Sometimes yay or nay, but I haven't lost my friend over this because I think
Mhm,
she really realizes like I love you. Like this is why I'm asking.
mhm,
I'm not
mhm,
attacking him. I've never once
mhm,
tell you to leave him ever because
mhm.
that's a decision you have to make and you have kids and I can't tell you the
Yeah.
right thing for you. But
Mhm,
I can bring up these points for you to think about when we're
mhm.
not together. You may give me a small answer, but when I leave, you're thinking about that
You
shit.
sure are. Because
You're
even as
you're
you were asking those questions, I was like, oh, yes, that's a out. Oh, yeah. So for me, I was never open enough in the beginning to friends. Again, going back to that shame and what will people think, to have it was pride, I'm gonna be honest, to have people ask me those kinds of questions. And even if they'd asked me those questions, I don't think I would have been honest with myself about the answer because I was in the marriage because some of my childhood trauma is I've been abandoned. My parents sent me to live in Africa until I was 9. And so I was looking for somebody to take care of me. And so for me, safe, right? I was looking for the safe bet. And I'd been through relationships where it was unsafe and it wasn't like, it was just ratchet in a sense. And so my husband signaled that safety, but I missed a bunch of different things because it was a safety.
yep. But I'm asking the questions that I wish somebody
Someone would have asked me,
would have
yes,
asked me,
yes.
right? Because the moment somebody starts attacking and making me feel
Mm-hmm.
like I'm stupid, you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna close off and you're not gonna tell them anymore. But
It's
if
true.
they're asking me rhetorical questions that are like they're personal, what I answer to my friend, it doesn't matter. It's what I have to answer to me. And now I'm like, is this what I want? Is this I'm happy? Because that's not a reaction. When somebody hurts you or when somebody's doing something, you're reacting. I fucking hate you, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
These are deeper questions. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like, how does my kid feel about this? How did, like,
Mm-hmm.
that's real. These are real questions. I can't be mad at them for asking me a legit question. Is this what I envision? No. Well, what is it that you really want? I always ask, what is it that you really want?
Mm-hmm.
What are the ways you've tried to help? Like, is
Mm-hmm.
this something that you can talk about? Do you see this long term? I wish somebody would have just done it
Mm-hmm.
because I
You wish
learned.
you
You
had
learn.
lived the community. So we are
Yeah,
now asking you these questions. We will put that in the
yeah.
comments, some of the questions to ask yourself, even if you don't have the courage to talk to a friend about what you're going through. We are your friends, and we are saying these are the questions to be thinking about as you're in this situation. It's nuanced, and the
I just
preparation to even leave a situation is hard. We're not saying that. But go ahead. You were gonna say something.
There's one thing that I'll say, and I told you this a few weeks ago, just in a conversation we were having.
Mm,
Not everything has to be ugly. When people are separating or,
mhm,
going different ways, I'm not saying it doesn't have to hurt, but
mhm,
we have this vision in our mind that it has to be a screaming match and a this and a
mhm,
that and
mhm.
everything's so
Right.
ugly. When you own what you're worth and your power, you
Mhm,
could easily say, it's not serving me.
mhm,
I'm sorry. It's
mhm,
not working. Like there's a way to just change the whole narrative instead of attacking the person. You don't do this, you don't do that, you never do. Why?
mhm,
This behavior, this situation is no longer working for me. And we don't need to have an argument about anything else,
mhm,
about what you did or didn't do, that you're less than, I'm better than you. None of that's a part of the equation. It's no
mhm,
longer serving me. This
mhm,
doesn't make me feel good. It's not helping me achieve my goals. I can't be the best me for you, and this isn't going to work out. And it's hard to say that because nobody wants to be the one to end the relationship, but you're not ending. You may be ending this one, but you're beginning. You're owning
love
you,
that.
and it'll give you the strength you need to, get ready for the next thing.
What were some
100%.
of the practical things you did as you were in the process? You talked a lot about like you realized you wanted to start a business, you started your LLC, but what are some of the practical things you did for yourself in your healing journey?
Well, I always feel like you have to listen to yourself.
Mhm,
So there's all these distractions. There's
mhm,
social media and there's TV and there's this and there's that. Sometimes just being in a quiet space and giving yourself that time, put on the headphones, even if it's in another room, and just listening to myself and my thoughts. That was therapeutic for me. Whenever I drive and I'm on the road, I don't listen to anything in the car because I need to hear me. What is my truth? What are my real desires? What am I afraid of? Why? The more I understand me, I can better navigate every day instead of just being reaction, reaction, reaction. I need to understand, why does this, when somebody says this affects me? Why is this because of something that happened? It's just because I don't like it. Trying to learn myself has given me so much peace,
mhm,
and just finding ways to do little things. Like if I'm exercising, I don't feel like I'm exercising. It's a job. I feel like I'm giving myself 30 minutes. I'm giving myself an hour, and I should pour into me, right? So that shift of just giving myself permission, allowing myself to feel like it's okay. I used to have mom guilt. I mean, we all have it from time to
mhm,
time,
mhm,
but I can't do good momming if I don't give myself these things. And that's okay. I'm a living, breathing person. I
mhm,
just can't be mom every second of the day. I need to be Tania. I have a name, it has power. There's beautiful things that are me, and I need to continue to foster those and nurture those so that I can be functioning and be admirable for my daughter. So I think those are the main things. And as I got out of that relationship and I'm with Jerry now, married with Jerry, I think
Yes. Our next chapter, we are in
have,
love, we are married, we are
I
in full
am
hope. Because what I'm hoping my listeners are hearing is there's hope. I know it's
100%.
probably sucky to hear that now, like, girl, how there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not what you think it is, or how it's going to look, but I promise you that there is a hope, there is a light, there is happiness. Some use Tanya's
Mm-hmm.
at the end of this. There has to be. That's just the cycle of life. So talk to me now about your new happy, your new love of self, your new love of your boo. Shout out to Jay.
Jerry. um, well, it's funny that you asked that question. It's like, what are the things that I was doing for me?
Mhm,
Taking those moments and then starting my own business, using all of these things as fuel, because it actually brought me my husband, ironically. So Jerry has been my friend for 12 years. I've known him.
Mhm.
not romantically at
Mhm.
all.
Yeah.
And
They went to the same high school, I remember.
no, so in that, in my dating,
Yeah.
before I got with my husband in my dating, I dated somebody that he knew,
Got you.
and we had mutual friends. We just stayed friends up until recently.
Hmm.
And maybe 7 or 8 years ago, he, right before I got married, he did ask, like, hey, let's go on a date. Let's try this. I'm like, all right, let's try it. Went on a date. I'm like, I love you as a person, but it's not it. It's like not that romantic part. And we left it alone, left
Hmm.
that. But when he was traveling, he needed a wax. And I own a mobile wax and tan studio. For those of you
Yes.
that don't know, I just opened a new studio doing permanent makeup. So he reached
And
out.
she
He's like,
was
hey,
flawless for those who can't see her.
yeah,
Right.
I'm trying.
You're
Um,
doing.
And that's it. He reached out, said he needed a wax, and the
Mhm.
rest is history. It's life's all about timing. He's not the person that I thought I would be with, but I think I was also ready for the maturity in a relationship that wasn't based about, like you said, sometimes it doesn't look like what you thought. It doesn't have to be all of this unrealistic passion, and it doesn't have to be what you thought it was in your head. You need to be with the person that you can do every day with, the person that you can figure out how to navigate simple daily tasks, because that's every day. The hot sex and the good looking one at the gym and the hot guy on the Instagram, all of those are moments that are not sustainable. You need somebody that's stable, that you can have shared interests, that is going to be your friend on a day when you really need a friend, that can, pick up on your nuances. And just a type of person, everybody knows what they need. For me, I knew I had worked really hard to heal myself. Starting
Mhm.
my business meant something to me. So I need to be with somebody that supports that, that's going to encourage me, that's going to want to see me grow. And what I can say about Jerry is that I've become more me with him.
Oh,
So the
yeah.
most me I have been is with him, because I feel like I have that support. I'm not worrying about if he's cheating, if he's drinking, who's home. Like I'm not worried about that.
Mhm.
I can actually 100% give to my passion and know I have somebody that has my back, and I can do the same for them. And that has changed my perspective. That has given my daughter the stability that she has really needed to feel confident and happy, because she sees me being happy. She knows that we are not up at 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning wondering if the person's coming home. Like, she can
Mhm.
see the
Ability. Yeah.
difference. And
I
it
love that.
just helped. I took risks that I never thought that I would have taken. I did a TV show, because I
Mhm.
knew that my daughter would be in good hands. I have started our new studio because I have somebody that's like, go for it. I got you no matter what, whether it fails, it succeeds, I'm going to be here. And I think that that's real true happiness, is being content in your soul. That's where I'm at. I don't know what the future is. This could all crumble tomorrow. So I preface by saying that I'm not like a guru or anything.
No.
But I'm in it 100% in the moment. And I think that that's really what counts.
Mhm.
Like, my red flags that I have of things now are night and day compared to the ones I've experienced. So if I'm like, I don't know if he's going to pick that up off the floor, like, that's a small thing in comparison. And you really realize, what can you deal with? What can you not? What's a big deal? What's not a big deal? Um, yeah. And I'm learning, right? I'm learning, asking questions, and hopefully that'll lead to longevity.
Mhm. If you were thinking back in your journey, are there things that you wish you'd have done differently?
Mm-hmm. So many, so many things. I think, inside, you have that voice, you have your conscience you know. And if you push that voice aside all the time.
Listen,
That's why I
don't
said I listen
listen.
to my intuition. Woo! I no, that don't feel right. That doesn't make me feel good. This is not for me. I definitely go with it because I knew all the other times little things. And my mom always says it, and it's kind of like a line. I think Ashanti says it or something like that. The things like that we neglect, like, are the things that we regret.
Mm,
So my mom's
that,
like, the
that's
end,
true.
she says, the end is always in the beginning. It's whether you chose to see it or not. She goes, listen to who people tell you they are, because that's who they are. You're not gonna change them, whatever. In their core, it's who they are.
Right.
So
That's a
she's like, the
quote, right?
end,
Yeah, that's true.
and she's like, the end is always in the beginning. You so pay attention in the beginning so you'll know what the end's gonna be.
That foundation piece is I've been thinking I was watching, I'm a nerd. I was watching maybe like some show about building a house, and they talk about how long it takes to build the foundation of a house. Like putting the house up is easy, but that foundation, same can be said about a relationship.
100%.
I will say too, as I continue to learn my intuition, that I move too fast. My foundations are usually never strong because I'm like, okay, let's move to the next, because I'm just a timekeeper. I don't even know what time I'm keeping. It's just very, very weird. But I've always, if I look back at the thing that I've learned is that I definitely need to pay attention to when people tell you who they are, believe them, and to take the time to really build the foundation. Yeah.
100%. I would say that's like the biggest thing is just trusting my gut, knowing like,
Mhm.
okay, this doesn't feel right. And then this I've learned over the time, and I wish I would have done this, just giving your bottom lines. Like, what do you need to function that's gonna allow you to prosper in the relationship? So we're always like, I need this from you. I want that, but you really need to figure out what that is. Like I have a few, like I don't want to be with a smoker. That's 100%. That's a no for me. And I need somebody that is going to do their share without being navigated. Like I don't want another child. I don't care if it's
Woo.
perfect, right?
Mhm.
I don't care if it's perfect, but the simple things, there's, the garbage is full. We both saw it. If you saw it first,
We both
you
suck.
grab it and bring it outside, because when I see it, I'm gonna bring it outside. And that may be like, oh, that's just men. It's not gender related for me because I run a business. Do you say that, oh, that's just men? They run businesses. They're CEOs. No, bitch. I'm a CEO. I have shit to do. I gotta do pickup and drop off. We both have two hands, 2 feet. We
That's
both have eyes, and we both need to fucking move. And so that I say up front,
Mhm.
that's how I would like to navigate my relationship. And if
Mhm.
we can do that, we're gonna be very happy. I don't mind doing more of something. I like to cook. Maybe I do more. Maybe you do more. But the basics, we're partnership. I've learned it's the first time I ever knew what partnership was. I thought
Mhm.
that just because you were in a relationship, you were experiencing partnership. No, no, no. It's two different things. I want a relationship with partnership. And Jerry has given me that. Like I didn't even know that existed. I was like, oh my God, like people do this? There's two of us? You also are willing to do that? Wow.
Mhm. Yeah.
So again, just knowing, kind of just taking the personal assessment. And during this course of time, self-analysis, but I've also had time to like talk to therapists, maybe not in long periods of time, but just having a
Mhm.
session here. Does this sound right? And the feedback is pretty much consistent about
Mhm.
accountability. Your role in something doesn't mean you necessarily. We think of when you say accountable, it's saying I'm sorry, I'm wrong, I'm this. Sometimes accountability is saying I don't want to do this anymore, because the more you allow something, then it becomes you're the one accountable for this. You also need to say like, this is not working for me. I don't like being treated like this. I really prefer X, Y, and Z. And I think I like to say it's like a tragic hero. The same thing. that makes you great has also can also be your downfall, and that's mine. I always want to see the best in people. I always let things go too long. Should have probably cut it off because I knew better.
Yeah.
And I'm really trying to work on that because some of these issues that I've had, they weren't just in personal relationships. They were in friendships, they were
Mm-hmm.
in work, even in management. It was hard for me to just cut it off. And now I'm like, let's just look at the facts. Let's look what's on paper. Let's see what makes the most sense. Let's see what's best for the business. Let's see what's best for my spirit. Let's see what's best for my kid and make those decisions accordingly.
And it's sounding like it all goes back to self. When you really truly understand your self-worth, your value, you start to make your no's become so much easier, or the things you can't tolerate become so easy when your yeses and your bottom line is clear.
100%. And I don't have guilt. Like, I don't have to feel bad. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not being mean. I'm not doing it to you. It's like, this is what it is. Let's have amicable conversation. Let's go through all the channels. And if it ain't it, it ain't it. And that's okay.
Yeah.
It's for somebody. It's just not for me.
What do you think that is? Why do you think women struggle with worth and self-worth?
It's probably something it starts young. My mom she's a person that has to be in a relationship. She's not a person that can be independent. And I think,
Really? Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, she's very smart and bold and sharp, but she hasn't given herself that. She had my sister at 18, me at 20, and she just,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like I've watched her go through these things, and I didn't want to be that. I want to have something that's mine. I feel like she couldn't get out of some of her relationships because she wasn't financially secure, and I think that was something that was big for me. Like, oh, I need to have my own money. I need to have my own shit, because then you're gonna be stuck. I don't ever want to feel stuck. I want the decisions that I make every day. When I wake up with Jerry, I want it to be because I chose it, not because I have to do it. And that's a whole mind shift in itself. Because
Well,
every day
baby.
it's my choice to do, and
Love that.
that'll empower you like a motherfucker. Like, it's my
Mm.
choice to be with you and vice versa.
Well,
So
you bring up an interesting point about finances because you said and I love that you guys actually talked about the end, not like you were planning for, but
mhm.
you said assets, that was the easy part. It was quick. I think, and I'm gonna just talk from my perspective on what I went
It
through.
wouldn't be quick now in the
Ah,
second one.
well, there's a few businesses happening, but I think there's a level of preparation that we have to talk about because there's a knowing and there's a knowing you're gonna leave, but there's a realization that there needs to
Mm-hmm.
be preparation. And that preparation, yo, homie, it could be a year, it could that time frame, like we got to keep it a buck. Like that time frame could be longer given what you have to untangle, what you
100%.
have to leave behind. Straight up, for me, I realized I didn't know the law in New Jersey about when you separate and you've been married for a certain amount of time, there is clear numbers that the person needs to provide to the other person based on the state. Like this ain't like your old time
Uh-huh.
so the
Uh-huh.
woman gets it also. That is a reality that a lot of people aren't talking about, in the fact that, okay, it's over, I'm not happy, we've made the decision, now what? That now
Mm-hmm.
what could be how long, so talk a little bit about the preparation, because I remember you said you talked to Connor, you are going to develop the business, but talk about that time frame and your mental.
So yeah, knowing that we were gonna leave, that was like a year of like just like, okay, I just made up my mind.
Mhm.
But I also wasn't going to be a prisoner in my own home, and I wasn't going to be walking on eggshells. So I tried to make it, I wasn't going to use resentment. Like, I already made my decision. So I let it go. Like, I could say, hi, good morning, how are you? I love you. But like, I'm good. It wasn't going to change the outcome.
Mhm.
Um,
And he was
But
aware of that. Because to me, I'm like,
we
that's weird.
in the beginning we were plotting on it a little bit, just the two of us
Mm,
kind of gauging, hey, kind of how do you feel about this? This is what I'm
mm-hmm,
thinking. And then
mm-hmm,
we had this conversation. I don't know if he thought 100% I would go through with it, but
mm,
that's not my issue. I discussed it with you. I told you what it was.
mm-hmm,
I told you why, this, that, and the other.
mm-hmm,
And I just went about it accordingly. I was like, I'm gonna live. That it didn't change the amount of love that I had for him. Wasn't gonna change the outcome, so I could be okay.
mm-hmm.
Maybe if he cheated or he did some other things, that would be a whole different situation. I can't speak to that.
Right,
In this
right.
situation,
Mm-hmm,
I was fine. I was fine with it. I just was like, oh well, like I have to do what I have to do.
mm-hmm,
Now with Jerry, when we were gonna get married, I told him I had an amicable divorce, but I don't think you could be amicable because you lead too much with your emotions,
mm-hmm.
and I feel like
That's a no.
you wouldn't be kind about it, and I have proven that I can. I already went through it, and I all the things we discussed, even in the hurt phase, I stayed true to my word. I didn't ask, and you didn't ask. We didn't do that because that's what we discussed. I don't believe you're at that place in general because when you get mad, you get vindictive, not towards me, but I see how you operate, and I call you on it. So I'm like, in order for us to be good, I need a prenuptial agreement. My business is going to stay in my name. The one that we have will be joint. Like there were certain logistics, and I feel like it was okay to bring it up. And because he said his response was like, "You're probably right." Like I'm like, yeah, like I'm not trying to say I want a divorce, but I'm just saying I see how you operate. You're a very emotional person. Let's make it as smooth and as easy if in the event that it didn't work out. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I take it from a person who, I mean, God, that is such a brave, courageous, and such an honest and real thing to talk about and know about a person and have the courage to say that to the person. And you know what I mean? Like, that's huge, Tanya. And I want our listeners to, like, this is, I don't know what other podcasts you listen to, but like, this is, she giving us a cheat code here, but this is also the reality of when people are in messy situations, and self-preservation is a real thing. And the person that you thought was going to be so amicable, you never thought, when you start talking divorce, it's almost like you be there's a is this is mine, this is mine, this is mine. And so, I'm seeing prenup all day. Like, whoever's wanting to date me, a prenup is going to be discussed. I have assets that don't belong to you.
I think,
Love
yeah,
you.
and I wasn't saying it, and I told him, I'm like, I don't want, and I think so. Here's the caveat to that. I'm like, I don't want your things though. I'm not
Yeah,
asking for a prenup so I can have your stuff. Because he at the time currently he makes like three times the amount of money for me. So
yeah,
what is the person with less asking the person with more to have a prenup? It's not like I'm protecting all my assets or anything.
right,
It's
yeah,
because I'm proud of the little ones that I have. I don't need to have yours. That doesn't need to be in ours, that I need to walk away with all your money. What I'm saying is, I'd like us to just be able to do this without all the messiness. So
yeah,
whatever that means that we can discuss, that's fine. So there is a difference. Some people are like, well, I want him to pay this and I want this and I want that. That's
yeah,
not me. That's not what I'm
yeah.
doing this. I'm doing this
Love that.
because I need to have sanity. If
Mhm.
this were to break down, it's already hard enough. You spend time with somebody, you're invested. Less, this should be one less thing. Let's just make it a little bit easier. So,
Yeah.
how you say something and why is everything.
That's very, that's the word.
Mm-hmm.
So, girl, that was that's a
I'm sorry.
journey.
I gave you guys all the tea, all the juice,
That
the
was
truth.
beyond tea. Like that. If you were to say,
I'm thinking about writing a book. Um, it's definitely come up a few times. Like I've had like a few speaking engagements because
Mhm.
obviously we spoke for an hour. I lived it as an experience. There's so many
So much.
more
Yeah.
details, in what happened and how.
Mhm.
But I'm just happy to be alive. I think that's what it is. I'm just happy to be alive. Like if I
Well,
already
that's
made it
great.
through that situation,
Yeah.
nothing you say, man, woman, like I'm just
Mhm.
It's not that
Get
serious.
through it. Get through
That's
it.
why I said if it works, it works. If it doesn't, I'm not gonna be losing my shit. I just want to be happy. I want to continue to just lead with an open heart. I almost feel like J-Lo, like constantly like happy, willing to get married. I
Yeah.
don't want to. It's not being naive. It's actually wearing your heart and not letting somebody else control that
Mm,
side of you
I
because
love it.
it's easy to close off. I mean, I'm
That's
still cautious and probably why it worked with Jerry. I knew him for 12 years
that's
before
true.
I decided that it would work out. So it's not
Yeah.
like I'm out there like, oh, like we
Mhm.
just
No,
met.
yeah. No, I'm 100% cautious, and that's something I'm working through now in therapy because I realize that commitment is a thing for me. I don't have a desire to feel trapped. I love that you said like I want to be able to choose to be there and not be worried about an ending that's not of my choosing. Anyway,
And you have
I
to
think
keep your pulse on that because
Mhm.
I recently, I'll be candid, I recently had this conversation with Jerry, like because of there's such an income disparity, there's
Mhm.
always going to be things that he wants to do, places to go, bigger house, more and more. And I still have to be able to be like, where am I at right now? Do I feel comfortable with this? Because if we go to that next level, will I put myself in a situation where I can't navigate? And in having some self conversations over the past few weeks, I think that I have to be at peace where if it doesn't work out, I can take care of myself. It may not be as grandiose, and that's okay because my
True.
sanity, I don't need to worry if we're not flying in first class, if we're not, that's not the root of what we're trying to get to. Will I be happy? Can I take care of my kid? Will I have shelter? Will I be able to provide food? Can I still do my job? Yes, 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 yes. Okay, I'm good. And just knowing that all of the other stuff are just things.
Mhm.
The core, can I meet that level? Will I be okay? Yes, 100%. And so then I can have peace with the other things.
Well,
Because that's real. That is real. I don't want to find myself in a sitch. I don't want to get too
not a
comfortable.
sitch, not a sitch. Well, we are winding down. I mean, we talked with this lived stories, and I always want to end with a lived truth. So, if you were to have one lived truth, what would you like to impart to our listeners?
Well, I think you touched on it a few times. It's just never give up like that light at the end of the tunnel, that hope. And I have a tattoo here, right? This one here.
Mhm. She has a beautiful
I
tattoo for
have I
those
have
who.
a big one, but this one right
Yes.
here, this is the warrior molecule. It's norepinephrine. And it's what we all have inside of us. If you've ever seen something incredible happen and a person lifts up a car
Mhm.
or they have, incredible strength, they're able to do something amazing. We all possess that ability inside of us. We're just not tapping into it every single day, but
Mhm.
we are born with everything that we need to thrive and be successful. So when your back's against the wall, when you feel like you can't do it, when you're not sure if you're going to make it, if you need, to just find something inside you, you have it. You just got to tap into it, believe it, push it, and make it happen. And I think that would be my truth is that you have everything you need. So just do it, even if it hurts, even if it's hard, even if you don't want to, because once you get over that, then you'll be proud of yourself and you'll still have you at the end of the day.
Thank you for listening. We want to express our heartfelt gratitude to our incredible community. Your strength and resilience shine brightly, and together we're creating a safe space filled with solace, guidance, and inspiration. If you resonated with today's episode, share with anyone who might find comfort and support this conversation. Let's spread warmth and encouragement and hope. Join the Lived community on social channels. It's Lived Stories on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok, where you can connect with like minded women share your story, and access even more trusted resources. Until next time, take care and remember, you're not alone in this journey. You are stronger than you think, and you can do hard things.